We're focusing on what's really a dark statistic, but we're trying to shine some light on it.
Yeah, because over the last 5 years, there have been over 20,000 cases of bullying reported in JCPS schools. Of those, almost half of the cases, over 8,000, have led to out-of-school suspensions.
Yeah, but we don't want to just overload you with numbers because we could very easily. So we do want to bring in WH11 Focus Team investigative reporter Heather Fountaine, because Heather, you've been following one specific case of bullying that led to the death of one JCPS student, and tonight you've got an update on that story. So Heather, first, welcome back to the show. Love having you on. Sorry I missed you last time you were here, but let's start from the beginning here. How did you first meet Seven Bridges?
Right. So for those of you that don't know, Seven Bridges was this 10-year-old boy who took his own life in 2019, and his mother blames bullying for that. And I mean, his story took off. It caught the world's attention. But what people may not realize is that I actually met Seven about 3 months before that happened. I was covering a story where he was telling us how he was choked on the bus, how he was called racial slurs on the bus. And that's kind of what kicked off this story. But what really struck me and stuck with me about Seven was his forgiveness for the kids that had done this to him. I mean, this is a 10-year-old boy, and he carried himself with such maturity. And so obviously a few months later, when I had found out what had happened, it breaks your heart, you know, when you meet these people and you cover these stories and something like that happens. So this story has really it's meant a lot to me from the beginning, and it's been a tough story to cover.
I can't even imagine, and to, you know, for him to have taken his own life because of this at such a young age is absolutely heartbreaking. You've covered the story, like you said, from the beginning. What is new about this now? What are you discovering that you really want people to know?
Yeah, well, one thing that we realized is that we have never looked into the investigation that was done by JCPS. Of course, his mother claims that he was bullied more than once by multiple kids, but we've never actually followed the paper trail of that. And so, what we're really breaking down for you tonight is what JCPS says happened, what Seven's mother says happened, and in fact, there are actually some new allegations that his mother is talking about tonight that no one has ever heard before. And so we'll be bringing that to light too. And these are allegations about interactions that happened at the school the day before he died.
Heather, when you hear reporters or when you hear people talk about news these days, a lot of the criticism goes to the reporter. Oh, well, you all just don't care. This doesn't matter. You're just throwing these facts out there to get ratings. And what people don't get is the difficulty in it and the attachments that you form and what you take home with you. So this question in any other format might not be appropriate or fair to you. But I'm very curious to know how much of this you've taken home with you daily.
I mean, this has been a lot. Like I said, sometimes you interview kids and, you know, they're kids. It's hard to have a real conversation with them. And I remember leaving that interview with Seven in August of 2018. And I remember leaving the interview and being like, oh my gosh, that kid. I mean, he is 10 years old, has just a little 10-year-old voice, but the words coming out of his mouth were just like, I know that I can forgive this kid. Tomorrow's another day. We could still be friends. It was mature. It was kind. It was forgiving. And so, again, when I found out what happened, it was hard. And that's me who had met him one time. Let's think about his family and his friends, his mother and his father, you know, people that cared about Seven and loved Seven. This is certainly one that when people say, what's a story you remember that you always cover? This one hits every single time.
And that's what's behind the report. That's what's going to come through. Heather, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the reporting. You can see Heather's update on Seven Bridges tonight, right here on WHAS 11 at 5:30. And you can, of course, learn more anytime you like at WHAS11.com.